Yeah, well, I'm sure we'll talk about some of that, but we are live. I just sent us live, and then went and grabbed a bottle of gin because that's what I do. So, good evening or afternoon, whatever time it is for everyone. We have got a pretty good episode today. Like, we've actually got something to talk about that's Cataclysm related for a change, because for the last I don't know, 2 months, there's not really been a great deal to talk about. Gho's lined us with an amazing guest, so I'm going to hand over to Gho and let him do the introduction.
All right, yeah, we've got the homie Sqwurrelly here. You might have seen him making Cataclysm rogue videos, like Nefarian rank 1, Atramedes rank 1. What else you got here? Magma, Chimeron, you name it, in the boss for tier 11. This guy has got rank 1 on it during Cata launch, and he's here today to talk about all this Cata stuff. Maybe a little retail. I don't know. We gotta pick his brain and see what all he's playing, because I'm assuming it's more than Cata. But Sqwurrelly, nice to have you on with us today.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate you having me here.
Yeah, so
Cool.
let's get into knowing what you're playing. I'm curious. I know you're a pumper ass rogue for Kata, but have you played SOD at all? What classes did you play on SOD? If you did, same with retail. Are you only doing the retail too, like Scotty is with War Within at all, or what's going on?
Yeah, so like we were talking about before, mainly only put time into Cataclysm because I make content for it, but I've put a little bit of extra time into playing Season of Discovery just to play it with some friends of mine. I'm currently waiting to see what retail like in terms of whether or not it has staying power with its audience before I spend money on it, because I think I quit during BFA, then I came back for Shadowlands and I hated Shadowlands, and then I quit during Shadowlands, then I came back for Dragonflight and I hated Dragonflight, so a little bit tired of throwing $100 down the toilet every expansion just to find out that I don't like it. But from what it sounds like, retail's got a good vibe going for it right now, so if it ends up having staying power, I'll definitely be checking it out.
I think the thing is as well, what you can never be too sure on, and I know this might sound quite ironic coming from me, but you never know when like people are really enjoying it, or are they saying they're enjoying it because they're trying to ride the hype train and there's not really a lot else to do at the moment because the Cata raids are a bit stale. That's what I'm always wary of. I mean, obviously, I genuinely am enjoying it. It makes me laugh saying that now. I genuinely am enjoying it. But I was a bit like, when people was massively bigging it up and saying how amazing it was because of the beta, I was like, well, I'm not being funny. Like, I'm not new to WoW. I've been on the beta for every expansion, and if I've then chose not to play because like the beta didn't grip me, then fine. But I just couldn't imagine what would make it so good. But yeah, obviously I have actually been sucked in. But I do think like there's people that I know in the guild that have tried it and they've quit already. People that I know love WoW, they love Kata, and then they've gone on retail and they're like, no, I don't get it. It's the same old shit. To some people, it just still feels exactly the same as any other time they've tried to give retail a shot. Whereas I actually just think it's not got any shit systems. Like Bearbiz has just said in chat, like I got him into it. I mean, he got into it hard as well. He was just watching the stream and was like, oh, I don't know, should I try it? He tried it. He's got 3 level 80 druids all geared, ready to raid now. Like he just went balls deep straight away. But I would like personally, I would just say to you, don't like listen to anybody else. Like, don't even listen to me. Just give it a shot. Play it for a day, and I'd be surprised if you then turn around and didn't like Rogue, because Rogue's in such a good spot.
That's what I was told. I was told Rogues are absolutely pumping on retail, which is kind of, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a numbers monkey, man. So like all I care about is being is top DPS on everything. That's all I care about. I hate to be one of those guys, because I know a lot of people in the community really hate those dudes who just like care about parses and stuff like that. I am one of those people. Big number makes me happy, man. It's just a dopamine rush for me, So yeah, seeing Rogues be really good on retail has definitely got me hyped, because it's like, at least if I do try it out, I know that it's gonna feed back into like a positive feedback loop for me personally. But yeah, I'm just waiting a little bit to see where the cards land in terms of whether people are actually liking the expansion, or whether or not they're just enjoying it because Sod's kind of dead right now. Cat is kind of dead right now, you know. So once we have like more confirmed opinions, I'll probably be throwing my money at it, you know. It's a matter of time.
All right, so
Yeah, and then we just need to get Go on it then.
True.
yeah, I mean, I'm doing the same thing Sqwurrelly's doing too. I'm waiting to see if the hype is real or not because I haven't played retail since WoD. I don't think so. I haven't been trying out the launches of anything. Like it's been that long since I've played. So it would take a lot for me to get back into it. I think you can play a little bit for free now, right? Like you can kind of get a little bit of it.
Yeah, but I don't think it's max level. I think there's like a level gate on it. I don't know what that level is because I haven't heard about that system in like a long time. I thought it was like only level 20 or something like that, but
Yeah.
I think I'm wrong. I don't know.
I think with a sub, like I could be wrong. Maybe someone will know in chat. But I think with the sub you can get to 60, can't you? Is it not then
I thought it
like
was
you
high,
technically
yeah.
need Dragonflight and War Within? Because I know Dragonflight came with War Within when you bought it. So I don't know. That would tell me that like maybe you get to 60 with just a sub, but I'm not sure. Without a sub, it's definitely 20, like 100%.
Okay.
Perbis is saying 70. So maybe you even get Dragonflight just as part of the sub. By then, like honestly, if you was to play it and if you get to 70 and you don't know whether you like it or not, like you'll know. Like,
Yeah,
you'll
for
know.
sure. Yeah. I was gonna say, isn't max level 80 right now? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay. I think I have level 70s because I did play a little bit of Dragonflight and did some Mythic Plus on there at the beginning. So I don't know. I've had a lot of people pressuring me to play retail, so it's super funny because even in my chat right now, people are like, you know, one of my main viewers is always like trying to get me to play it, and every single time I denounce retail or something, he's totally writing my butt about it because he really hates that I have such a bad attitude towards retail. So maybe I just need to stop being so negative about it and give it a try.
Man, Go. He just sounds like me, don't he? Like maybe
like a mix
not
of both of us, yeah.
English, but like I've said, if you was to watch one of these podcasts from 3 months ago, maybe 4, you will hear me just shitting on retail and saying I'll never play that garbage. Like you know, there's no way I'd go back to retail. Man, I'm even putting retail videos out now. Like
Yeah,
you know,
right.
and it's really genuinely. I can say with hand on heart, it is nothing to do with making content. You know, it's not like oh my god, there's nothing to do with cat because I'd happily just make no videos. Like I don't care. But retail, oh man, I'm just loving it. Like, but it's a great like the next year is going to be amazing for WoW players in general. You know, especially if you do like play all the games that come under the sub. You know, if you're playing SOD, you've got Blackwing Lairs, Old Gurub to look forward to, and obviously AQ won't be that far after. You know, as Cata players, we've got Firelands. I don't think Firelands will be out long before then Dragon Soul comes, and we're looking like next year will be Mr. Pandaria. At the same time, if you're enjoying retail, like it's just fucking a great time. And the 20th anniversary looks absolutely insane. Like BRD in retail.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah,
Oh, right.
that does look
Yeah.
really cool. That does look really cool. I'm not gonna lie.
I listened to that on my drive home from work today, and I was waiting for the part where they were like, "And in Classic, we have this for Classic players to experience," and it never came. And I was like, "Ah, fucking hell!"
Yeah.
All right, so Sqwurrely,
Go ahead.
Horde or Alliance? We like if you got to choose, if you weren't in Alondo's guild, I don't even know if you are Horde or Alliance right now, but like, what faction do you lean towards if you weren't pressured from like the people that you played with to play a specific faction?
Yeah, so as it currently stands, because of you know, the guild environment I am in, we're always going to play Horde, right? Because of Horde racials, they're just better. But I swear to God, my heart has always been female human rogue every single time.
Okay.
My entire life. I think my only other character was a male night elf rogue until I found out that their racial is terrible for the class, and I never played it again. So female human rogue is by far the meta.
I used to make level 19 twinks back in the day, and I would either pick a human, a female rogue, or a gnome with the pink pigtail.
Yep.
You had to have a rogue with pink
Yeah,
pigtail.
I just love.
Yeah, I'm Alliance at heart. There's nothing better than like do it. The 1 to 20 is Alliance for me. You know, doing Goldshire and then going into Westfall, Red Ridge. I think it's nostalgia and like going into Ironforge and hearing the Ironforge music. I was Alliance for like probably the first 12 years of playing the game. Love it.
Yeah, I honestly, leveling on Horde on SOD was such a weird experience because my entire life I've played Alliance and I've never played Horde up until this point. And so going through that experience and having absolutely no idea what I'm doing, I could do all of Elwyn Forest, Westfall, you know, Red Ridge, all the starting alliance zones with my eyes closed. I was lost even with Rested XP. The whole time I was like, where's it asking me to go? And I'm like, well, they've got Centaur here? What's going on, you know? I was freaking out the whole time. I hated it. I felt like I was in like a foreign game that I had never played before.
That is funny, man.
So I had one, but I gotta ask because you've got like 2 sleeves of tattoos. So are there any WoW related tattoos? Do you have like a rogue emblem anywhere or anything like that? Because I've got a druid tattoo. I don't show it off too often, but
I don't, and I think rather than just saying my opinion on WoW tattoos, I'm gonna give a story, okay? So I worked with a guy that I really hated right out of high school. I worked at a really high star resort, and I was a limo driver there. And one of my coworkers was a guy that had a horde tattoo. And he was kind of like, I don't know how to say this in like a bad way, but he was like a really aggressive jock type, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
and man, he was like everything that I hated about WoW people. If that makes like he knew nothing about the game. He never even max leveled a character or anything like that. I'm not saying that like you have to, you know, be like some sort of sweat to get WoW tattoos or anything like that. But I tried to connect with him all the time about the game, and he couldn't reference anything, but he had this giant like horde sleeve. And then after I started getting tattoos, and I was like, oh man, it would be really cool to get like a rogue dagger or something. I do have a dagger on the side of my head, but it's not in the theme of World of Warcraft or anything necessarily.
it's like a gray dagger. Yeah.
Yeah, that guy totally just made me turned off from the idea. I never wanted to get WoW tattoos because I was like, and also, like, I don't know if I really want to meet people in public who play WoW. Usually you meet the super weird kind of types who were like, for the Horde, you know, and everyone that you meet in public loves Horde, and I'm like an Alliance dude. I'm like, what am I going to say? I'm not going to shout for the Alliance at some stranger out in the mall.
Yeah, we have, so we do a lot of like stream meetups, like like
Okay.
from out in the country, out the country. We have people travel quite far, and we just like stay in a hotel for a couple of nights, go out and just get hammered. You know,
That sounds fun.
The whole point of these meetups. But we have a strict no WoW rule. Like we've not met up to sit and talk about our fucking OP, our gnome rogue is. You know, we've met up to get pissed.
Yeah.
So we have like a strict no. I can't imagine turning up with a WoW tattoo on my arm. just random. I've got a druid tattoo on my arm. I mean, I'm not a loser. But anyway, Go, did you say you've got a druid tattoo?
It's a pretty cool tattoo, though. I like it. I do like it.
Yeah, it's just the crest, you know, just to let everybody know that I'm a druid. You can't really see it even with a shirt. You can see like the bottom.
Yeah, right.
The 2 things. So I have it covered up.
I do have a bunch of anime
it's only going
tattoos.
to be WoW players that know what it is, right?
Yeah,
you know,
of
it's like you can get away with it with 90% of the people you meet, I guess.
Somebody saw my other tattoos on my arm, and I showed him that one, and I was like, "Are you a gamer at all?" And I like lifted up my shirt, and I forget what game he said, but it definitely was not WoW that he thought it was. So yeah, like I don't think anybody, even if you're a WoW gamer, you still might not know what the druid like crest looks like.
I was gonna say, whenever I meet people who have like gaming tattoos in public, most of the time, I'm not like, maybe I've been unlucky in my life, but I never meet people who play WoW. I always meet people who are just like addicted to Pokemon, you know, or like I have a bunch of friends who love Pokemon. Yeah, exactly. Like they're not my type of nerd. I don't know. I've always felt weird saying this because I never have WoW nerds around me when I talk about this. But I feel like there's an archetype of nerd that is the generalized archetype of nerd, which is like people who love Pokemon and stuff like that. And I'm like, I don't connect with those people at all. They play a bunch of different video games. I'm like, I've maybe touched 4 video games in my life outside of WoW, and they're probably all first-person shooters, which makes me the least cultured person to talk to about video games. But man, could I tell you about statistics on WoW.
So I'll tell you something funny when you say that, because like you'd probably be surprised. I think many of us would be surprised the amount of people we probably have met that play WoW, but we don't talk about it.
Yeah.
So I worked with a guy called Danny. And we were like, we were, you know, close. We talked all the time, like as in I was an engineer and he was an engineer, and we basically like worked. We had a border between us. I had one area, he had the area next to me. So we'd always be on the phone like 20, 30 times a day. Whenever we had work meetups or conferences or team meetings, we'd always go out drinking. Like we knew each other really well. It took 2 years before WoW got mentioned. And it turned out like both of us played a lot of WoW,
Yeah.
but it was like, I can't even remember how it got mentioned, but he was just like, oh, I think I mentioned WoW, and he was like, oh, I play WoW as well, and then and then I was like, oh, what, like, you played it before, you play it now, and he was going hard, like,
Yeah.
he was a really good player and everything. It was like, but people just don't openly go, all right, yeah, I'm Scott, I play WoW, how are you?
Well, I think because, like, for a lot of OG WoW players, we came up in a time, right? Because, like, when I was young, I started playing World of Warcraft when I was 7 years old. And I remember when I was really young, playing World of Warcraft meant you were, like, an uber nerd, Like, if you played WoW, you were the freak type of nerd who wasn't a normal nerd. So you never talked about it with people. And I feel like that carried on to everyone's adult life. And so it's just like this secret hobby that everyone has,
Yeah, and it's like when you've got a raid tonight and people are like, oh, what are you doing after work? Oh, I don't know, fighting and watching football, probably.
Yeah.
I'm really raiding.
Yep. I know, trying to tell, like, my boss will try and get me to come in on extra days sometimes, and I'm like, oh, man, I just can't do that. I have an online business that I run, because no way am I going to tell him I'm not going to work voluntary overtime just to go, because my raid's going to go till too late in the evening.
It's parse night, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I'm trying to hit some 100s tonight, dude. I'm not trying to go into work. No way.
Right, cool. Have you got any more questions, Go? Or
yeah. I remembered what I was going to ask a minute ago. So you are a pumper PvE-er. Do you PvP at all? Are you like an arena guy at all? Like maybe back in the day, but now you're only PvE?
I was gonna say, back in the day, I suck at PvP now. I can't remember what half the classes do. I tried to do arenas. Me and my buddy did twos in Cata for like a very short period of time. We did Ret Rogue. Because we thought it sounded like a Scooby-Doo meme. And I think it's called Scooby-Doo Cleave, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was telling me that. And I hated it. I hated the entire experience. The whole time I was doing it, I was like, oh, this sucks. I'm just getting owned because I don't remember what half the classes do anymore. So I gave up on it. I used to be, I think I was like 2200 plus back in OG Kata, but I suck now. I think I was stuck 1600 max.
That sounds about like me. I think my highest was really only like just over 2K, and I was so stoked in threes. I was like, I felt like I achieved something though when I got to 2K.
Yeah.
But I haven't gotten anywhere. Well, I guess I got 1800, I think, in Kata. I think me and the homie Riggs got 18. That was in Wrath. We haven't really pushed any sort of rating at all in Kata though. I'm full geared though. Like I've got every single piece of PvP gear because it's so easy to get with their
totally
like their cap change. It's ridiculously easy to get PvP.
Yeah. Well, I
have to log on retail and look at my achievements and pretend I can still PvP. That's I'm like you. I've got Gladiator on my I think I might have the 2 seasons. I've got Glad on my retail account, but like, we're talking 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
But I still claim it still counts.
Yeah. Well, and I got really hyped at the beginning of Kata because everyone was going for Vicious 2 set because that like plus 70 primary stat was really good in Prebis. And when I was two-shotting everyone without resilience gear on, I was like, man, PvP's sick. I love playing subtlety. But then once people got gear, I was like, I don't two-shot people anymore. And it's just not fun to not dumpster people, Like, if I actually have to think and I can't just shadow dance and double ambush them, like, I'm off the scene, dude. I could not care.
And that was really fun at the start of Kata, though. Like, I agree. We was doing the same. Like, as a Ret, I wanted to get my 2 set as well. And we was doing 2s, we was doing 3s. We done some. No, it was just 2s and 3s. Or maybe we did do some 5s. Well, that might have been Wrath. I don't know. See what I mean? I can't remember what happened.
Yeah.
And that's not even that long ago. But man, yeah, it was a lot of fun. Like, as Ret, just running in, popping all cooldowns and nuking down 2 people when my teammates not even done anything yet.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's so cool. And I think the thing that I just don't have the time and patience for anymore is like learning subtlety PvP in Kata now. Because I remember I played it back then. I apparently did decent because 2200s, in my opinion at least, nothing to scoff at. But I don't know. I don't feel like I'm PvP minded anymore, I guess is the best way of putting it. I tried to put a little bit of attention into it, and then I started like learning a little bit about it. I was like, oh man, it's really overwhelming. Like, I'm gonna have to learn every single class, all of their abilities, different trinkets and all this. And I was like, or I could just go stare at Warcraft logs, and that's a comfort thing for me at this point, So I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions from you, Scotty? I don't. Did you even ask him a question?
No, you've done a cracking job of asking the questions.
Yeah, you got to throw one in there. You got to come up with something.
No, I don't. Do I really?
I mean, when you look at this handsome gentleman here, not me, if we're talking Sqwurrelly, what comes to mind? Like, what do you want to know about him?
Absolutely nothing.
That's fair. That's fair.
You've asked it like we know what class. Oh, I suppose yeah. We know that you've played WoW literally since vanilla. Have you? When did you stop? Actually, so you don't play retail anymore. You said you've tried to play the last few expansions.
Yeah.
When did your complete retail journey end?
So when I officially jumped off the train, it was during Siege of Orgrimmar in MoP. Because it was, I don't remember how long that went on. I think it was like 10 plus months or something that we were in Siege of Orgrimmar. And like we were talking about before, is that I ended up dating a girl in high school during MoP. At the beginning of MoP, I think I was 15 or 16 at the latest. And I was no longer a virgin, and I was like, do I put more time into World of Warcraft, which means less time having sex with my girlfriend, or do I get laid more? You know, like at that time I was like, man, WoW is just really not, hitting the same as that. So I basically just end up giving up on WoW. I tried Warlords of Draenor for a little bit, couldn't get into it. I tried, what was it after that? I don't even remember. I think it was that battle.
Legion.
Legion. Yeah, I tried Legion for a little while, and then I did Legion at the start, and then I did it at 8.3. 8.3 was sick. I really loved that. Then gave up again, tried Battle for Azeroth. I basically every single expansion tried to throw a little money at it and see if I like it, and just never really got back into it. And then Classic Vanilla came out, and I fell deeply in love with that. In fact, I used to be a full-time streamer for Destiny 2. I quit streaming full-time on Destiny 2 and quit streaming entirely so that I could just no life all of Classic Vanilla. I didn't even work a job for like 9 months so I could play that game nonstop like a degen.
Yeah, when it came out,
I like your style.
when everything was shut down, like I did the same thing.
Oh, dude, it was so
I still
sick.
had to go, like my work was closed, but I still had to put in half of my normal hours, but I'd still get like a full normal paycheck. But I was no life in some classic WoW for sure.
Yeah.
In classic and TBC.
It was so much fun, man.
Yeah. What you should have done though, what you should have done, Sqwurrelly, is you should have got the girlfriend, yeah, got her like deeply, madly in love with you, and had a little break from WoW for about, I don't know, 6 weeks. Like that's long enough.
Yeah.
And then you go, oh, by the way, there's this game that I play now and again called WoW, and then done what I done, and then ignored your missus for the next 15 years.
Like, that would have been.
It worked perfectly for me. It was too late. She was already she was already in love. It's like, well, now she just got used to being ignored.
Yeah, this one that I'm currently dating is definitely trapped now. I wasn't really playing video games when I met her that much, and then I kind of took like a little bit of a break from WoW during TBC, which is when her and I first started dating. And then when Wrath came out, she was already locked in, and I was deep in the trenches in that game. So
I like your style. That's perfect.
Yeah. No. Oh my God, no. My girlfriend is not a video game enjoyer whatsoever. In fact, we're trying to slowly coax her in. My buddy's giving her his old PC. We've got her playing Palia because I'm trying to introduce her to MMOs so that I can just throw her at WoW. Because most of our online friends are friends with her, and all of my online friends play WoW. So it's going to be like a really easy time getting her to play it. But it's just we're trying to get her set up so that she can, and then turn her into a no-life nerd like myself.
That is me. Yeah, that's me out of questions. They're the normal ones, I
had to force you to ask a question. Usually, we go back and forth. I stole all of them from you tonight, though. To be fair, yeah. But
I was just enjoying the conversation, to be honest with you.
Oh, I know. This is great. But what are you up to right now in WoW, Sqwurrelly? Are you just raid logging on Cata, or are you doing ZAZG at all? Are you leveling alts? Like, what's going on?
So as it currently stands, I just moved into a new house 5 days ago. So this house that I'm in now, we just moved here. So I've been kind of raid logging for the most part, but I'm trying to get back into it. I'm leveling a bunch of alts on Cata right now, so that I can have a bunch of GDKP characters for when Firelands comes out. But I'm not gonna lie, Cata's kind of in this lull state right now, so it's really hard to get motivated to do heroics, especially with how boring heroics are on Cata, to then go into raiding and gearing up more characters. So we'll see. I do 3 raids a week with my guild. So we do a split raid for our mains, and then we have another raid. I play 3 rogues on all of those, and then I do a GDKP every Monday with them as well. And then I just got a rep paladin up to max, and I'm leveling a mage pretty soon. Probably another rogue on the horizon, so I can just play more rogues, because that's all I really care about playing.
So, I mean, I've got a very, very serious question. How are you not bored shitless still raiding 4 times a week?
Yeah.
I'm assuming we're talking 4 full clears a week. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that to me. So I was doing like 4 to 6 a week at the start, and like now I'm struggling to do 1. Like honestly, with stepping foot in tier 11 at the moment is like, soul destroying.
So, I mean, Cata as it currently stands is definitely a slog. Tier 11, when it started, was awesome because it was really nice to actually have... I remember going from ICC and being like, man, ICC's cool, but I finish it in like an hour on full clear, and that sucks. And then, it's just like an hour a week, and then I'm bored for the rest of the week, and I want to do something in WoW, but there's nothing to do in WoW. Then we went to tier 11, and now it's like, doing splits for, even just 2 characters is 4 or 5 hours a week. And then I'm doing that, on 4 characters. So we're talking about maybe 10 plus hours a week of raiding. And now I'm like, man, going back to ICC would be kind of sick, or going back to TOGC and having 15 alts would be kind of sick. 45-minute clears? I don't know. But the way that I stay excited with Cataclysm is honestly my guild. I have the most severely edgy and goon, like meme goon squad of guild members in the entire world. If you guys have ever listened to a stream of mine, I barely even talk the entire time because I'm just so encapsulated in like all of my guildies just shitting on each other for the entire raid night. They're all just cracking jokes constantly. They're all making fun of each other. They're posting memes inside of, our raid discussion channel. So it's an absolute clown fest every single raid, and that makes it honestly worth it alone. Like I couldn't, even if I perform poorly that week, or something doesn't go the way I want it to, or get bad RNG on a boss, man, just the comms are good enough to keep me motivated and happy.
Wait, when did you join the guild? And the guild is bipolar.
Yeah, bipolar. I joined them about I want to say a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months now at this point. I'm not exactly sure.
So
Yeah.
wait, where did you come from then? Like what guild were you raiding with before?
So I threw out all of Wrath, or like halfway through Wrath, I joined Fusion. So that was with Jordy and then like Crix and all those guys. And I was a part of Fusion for a pretty long time. And then at the end of Wrath, Fusion started to kind of fall apart going into a lot of the bigger like officers and stuff like that, and Jordy and all those guys were starting to disappear and fall off the map, or wanting to go to other places because Fusion was just downtrending. I think they're doing pretty good now, but they had like 6 raid teams at one point, so they were just like a massive guild. And I wasn't really liking the vibe there, so going into Cataclysm, they were trying to get me to not play a rogue. And I was like, listen, I'm the rogue guy. I'm not going to not play rogue. I want to be a rogue. And Death Knights were really sick for progging for AMZ. Being the selfish person I am, I said, I'm not going to do that. I want to play a rogue. And then I joined Bipolar. I did help them with week 1 clear, not to be that selfish. I leveled both a rogue and a Death Knight to max and did prog with them week 1 so that they could have a Death Knight. But the moment that we did 13 to 13, I G quit. I'm not even kidding. Like we killed Neff, and it was like 5 seconds after the raid ended. I G quit and I went to Bipolar.
Yeah, it's fair though. You want to play a rogue, you want to play a rogue.
Yeah,
it's as simple as that. Yeah,
that's with me too. Like people ask me to play Resto all the time. Like, can you do hybrid? Can you like heal on this boss and then switch DPS? I'm like, fuck that, man. Like, no, I want to pump every boss.
Yeah, I totally understand that I'm the bad guy here because like WoW is a type of game where there's a give and take. You got to do what you need to do for your raid team. But I also want to enjoy myself, and being as hyper specific about my form of enjoyment in this game is definitely turns me off to a lot of people, and I understand that. I'm super aware of it, but like fuck you if you don't want me around, like that's it.
Yeah, see, whereas I don't consider you the bad guy in that at all. And if we weren't live and you weren't the guest, I would be saying exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Because you want to play a rogue. You don't want to play a Death Knight. If you wanted a Death Knight, you'd have created a Death Knight. Do you know what I mean? Like we all want to play, like me on retail at the moment. and there's a lot of people in the guild watching now. If one fucking person said we could do with you being something that isn't a monk, I would not be raiding with them.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
as simple as that.
Yeah.
They know I am a monk. Like from when pre-patch comes, classic will the rest of my time playing classic until I'm not playing anymore will be a monk. The rest of the time I play retail will be a monk. I will never ever main another class. So yeah, I wouldn't re-roll for jack shit. Like I'd be a monk with them, or I'd be a monk somewhere else.
Yeah, well,
that?
and the main thing is that when I was like a member of Fusion, there was a lot of speculation at the beginning of like Cata private servers before Cata came out, and then Cata PR for raiding, that Death Knights were just going to be busted. That AMZ was going to be way stronger than it was, and then we found out that it really only works for like one single, instance of like big damage going out. And so everyone was coping off of like, we're going to have 9 Death Knights in a raid. The Sims are saying they're doing 40k DPS, but and like all this crazy stuff. So they were like, if everyone's not playing a Death Knight, you don't get a slot. And I was like, not only is that not true, every single like really good comp is going to have 2 rogues. And I know that without a shadow of a doubt. And then I just felt very slighted because they didn't listen to me about that. Push comes to shove, week 1, all the top guilds had 2 rogues, and they beat us on progression. And I was like, all right. I was like, not only was I right, and DKs aren't as good as we thought they were, I'm gonna go, just to a place that lets me play the class that I enjoy,
So is the
no, that's fair.
Is the 2
go
thing...
just what? Sorry, go. Literally, just hold that thought just for 1 second. Sander, is that any better? Apparently, I was like double the volume of you two, which I don't see how that's possible. But I have turned myself down a touch. So if everyone because I can turn it down a little bit more as well. I don't want to be talking over them, But go on, carry on, Go. They've heard me now.
Well, yeah, let me take this time to thank Ashley. Ashley's hanging out in the chat with the first super chat of the night. So thank you very much for that. Happy to catch a podcast live again. And if anybody else has interest in asking a question or anything like that, supporting the show, super chat is the way to do that. So thanks, Ashley, for helping out and stopping by. But Sqwurrelly, there's 2 rogues you're saying like that most raid groups should have. Is that to cover debuffs? Does one rogue cover debuffs and the other one gets to pump and like full single target DPS, or like what's the deal with 2 rogues for raids?
So as it currently stands, 2 rogues aren't necessary. And I'm going to be honest, I actually think this will change in Firelands. I don't think that 2 rogues it might not even be meta, even though as the Sims that I've currently checked out, rogues are currently the top single target DPS out of all the melee specs. They beat Ret, they beat both DK specs, they beat both warrior specs. Yeah. And yeah, they're in fact like thousands of DPS better than all those other specs. But the main reason during tier 11 that you brought 2 rogues is because combat rogue during prog was so insanely good at taking care of all the crappy jobs. So constructs on magma, cleaving Halphys Drakes down, getting a ton of extra DPS on Ascendant Council with the Ignatius, cold buff or burning spite buff, Sinestra for the gouges when you were progging and Sinestra wasn't just falling over and you would actually get a decent amount of spike callers up. They just got to deal with all the crappy jobs really easily. Their raid viability in terms of like what cooldowns they bring and everything totally sucks. I'm going to be honest. I thought Smoke Bomb was going to have like some sort of versatility going into Cataclysm. It's terrible because we got post-nerf Smoke Bomb. I don't remember if any of you old heads remember pre-nerf Smoke Bomb. It was sick back in the day. It's useless now. But yeah, so in terms of anything outside of just doing like the crappy jobs that no one else wants to do, they just have insane 2-target cleave, right? Combat's an amazing spec. But I don't think that's actually going to be the case in Firelands because in Firelands, all the strats are probably just going to ignore any cleave. A lot of guilds are probably going to skip doing the feral cat phase for Domo. Probably not going to be killing ads on Shanox. Bethkalak cleave is kind of a meme unless your guild's really casual. So I don't know. Rogues might be a 1 per raid type of vibe going into this next raid tier. We'll see.
So are you mainly doing 25 player raids, or do you do 10 as well?
I actually haven't touched 10 men in Cata once, which I'm kind of sad about. I wish I had like a tight knit group of friends that were just like 10 homies that I could do casual raiding with. I feel like that would be a ton of fun for 10-man raiding. But I'm going to be honest, loot distribution with 25 being as many items as it is, and then 10-man only being 2, feels crappy. I feel like they should be getting 3 items or something like that. I don't know if the loot distribution is actually just good for both of them, because I haven't done 10-man raids, but the mere idea of less item equals bad in my brain is like the only place my head can go to, so I just haven't touched 10-mans for that reason.
Like the Vank token has taken a while because that's all I've done is 10. I haven't done 25. So like the Vank token was pretty contested for a while until like a week or 2 ago, and then finally like I think Vank token was kind of chill.
Yeah.
But it didn't take that long. Like I'm 3 pieces off of BIS, and I passed on 2 pieces last week that would have been like one was BIS, but like the other one was like one of the random stats. So it wasn't actually like best in slot, but it was like second BIS or whatever.
Right.
But I've gotten pretty well geared in a 10-man, like no problem.
Yeah.
I think for 10-man, you've just got to be a lot more mindful about loot distribution as well.
Yeah.
You know, because you really don't want too much contest on items, and you also don't really want items going to waste. So I do think it's a bit more like, yeah, you're not going to want 4 or 5 cloth wearers. You know, you're not going to want half your plate wearers. Like you do just have to be a bit more sensible. But yeah, I got full bis on my rep like super quick, and that was purely in 10-man.
Yeah.
Whereas I'd say it actually took longer for my priest in 25-man, but again, it's a cloth wearer. You're competing with, just a lot more people. But yeah, ultimately, I agree 100%. I think 1 extra item in 10-man, and I think they probably should have done that. If they didn't do it at launch, they should have done it when Zolgarb and Zolaman launched.
Oh, they should have done it.
Extra item to 10-man.
Yeah, I think it's very silly because I mean, like, it's very disincentivized, just the and not even for like BWD or BOT specifically, but for Throne of the Four Winds, it's already hard enough getting your random roll items, man. I mean, I don't even know what week we are in Cata at this point for rating, but I still don't have any of my Zephyr pieces, which are all rogue bis for both combat and assassination. I have none of them, and neither does the other rogue in our guild. And we do splits. That's crazy to me, like having random roll pieces and then having to do 10-man and then just there being that like less of a chance that you get that item sounds terrible to me. So I don't want to be anywhere near it.
Yeah, our first of the Undertow, I think, is the name of the piece for casters dropped last week, and that was week 13. Yeah, so like this reset should be week 14, and that's nuts. Like I knew going into it, I was like, wait, what the fuck is this loot? What do you mean there's like 4 to 6 different items of the same name that can drop? Like, and it hasn't gone over well with me. I'm like, yo, this shit sucks.
Yeah, the Throne of the Four Winds definitely is my least favorite. Not only raid to DPS in or do at all, because I just think the mechanics for both of those fights are really annoying and bad. But just the loot is so frustrating, I would have rather taken less chances at loot, like reduced drop, the reduced amount of items in 25-mans, but gotten like solid consistent rolls out of those items so I could have just like at least a chance at getting my items quicker so that I could ever obtain full bis, rather than doing this. This is frustrating. We're doing splits for no reason at this point, we pass on every single item. We have over 80 Maelstrom crystals a raid now, and the only thing that we're doing the raids for is Throne of the Four Winds, and then just to stroke our own egos for Parses. So that's just like it's 5 hours of just putting my balls in a trap, man.
I like Alakir though. I don't like the last phase, the going up and down, dodging clouds, and going out if you have the debuff. Like that part's not really fun, but I like phase 1, phase 2. Like that part of the fight is pretty fun for me.
I think from a mechanics perspective, or I'm sorry, just from like a playability perspective, the fight's sick. That's not what bothers me about it. What bothers me about it is that the only way to do good DPS on that fight and to like actually do well on that fight is to kind of shoot your raid in the foot. You have to basically either have people stop DPSing, or just not do damage to the boss for like long periods of time so that you can get tons of feedback stacks. And I hate that. I really hate any type of raid fight where the goal for parsing it is I have to kill it slow. That sucks.
Yeah.
That's
full
so weird.
DPS.
Yeah.
I hate that feeling. Like, I would like there just to be, like some sort of option where it's like, yeah, so you are rank 1 speed killing guild in the world for like 9 out of 13 bosses or whatever. Yeah, dude, you're just blasting. Here's some extra all-star points or something. I don't know, dude. Like, it's just so frustrating staring at that and being like, well, this is terrible. I can't change this. I can't change at the fight. Like, just designed poorly.
Yeah.
All right, Scotty. I know what you're about to say here, and it's a lot of stuff involving the War Within. But what have you been up to in WoW these past couple weeks? Because you were on holiday for a bit. You didn't get to stream or really make videos for a while. So yeah, we got to catch up and see what's been going on with you.
Yeah, there's not honestly really much to say other than War Within. I've logged in the last 2. So I was on holiday for 8 days, week before last. So by the time I then came back, yeah, it was like I must have been home for 4 or 5 days now, something like that. But I took my laptop with me, obviously, just so I could keep up to date. Like every night when we was on holiday, as soon as the kids were in bed, boom, I was on WoW. And I was like staying up till, I don't know, 3 in the morning and getting up at 7 with the kids and then going out all day and doing stuff, then coming back, hoping they fall asleep early so I can get back on. So yeah, I've spent a lot of time on War Within. Honestly, outside of that, I was in a GDKP like on Cat on Saturday. Joined a guild raid once. I've barely raided on Cata for like the last 2 or 3 weeks. Our 10 man, our actual like core 10 man with the boys, we've just gone on a break as well. Like our audience just on White Main doing Firelands. Yeah, that's it. And I've been spending a lot of time on Stormforge as well. Actually, I actually done a full Siege of Orgrimmar yesterday morning.
My buddy was
with a
telling me he really
Portuguese
likes
guild.
that server. The guy that I actually did some of the WoW head guides with, his name's Warstry. He's been doing a lot of mop private server stuff, and he said that he's absolutely loving it. I'm kind of jealous. I wish I had more time so I could do stuff like that.
Yeah, I've played both seasons. Season 1 of Stormforge, I played pretty much the first phase. So never actually, like, I'd already gone. It would have been Classic related. Something would have come out in Classic at the time. So then, like, before Throne of Thunder came out, I quit. Whereas with the second season, I went back when Throne of Thunder had just come out. I'm pretty much playing solo, though, to be fair. Like, there was a lot of the boys, like, from the guild was on there. But then, I don't know, like, everyone's disappeared off to doing other things. So I log on a few times a week and just find a pug, do some heroics. Like that's it. I'm playing it fairly casually, but obviously I've leveled now. I've only got 2 classes left, and then they're all 90. So
Okay.
like I've been slowly getting every class to 90. Again, more for video purposes because the only class I'm really interested in is monk. But I at least want to have knowledge of all the classes again. But yeah, so that's it. War Within and mop very casually on my own. War Within, man, yeah, I can't get enough of it. I've been leveling loads of characters. Like my only level 80 is monk. Like, but there's not really a lot else I can do with that now till next week when like Mythic Zero's open and we can start raiding and then, following that Mythic Plus. But yeah, I'm loving it. As I say, at the moment for me, until Firelands actually launches, I've not got that much enthusiasm to log on Cata and do anything.
Yeah.
I wish I had something to do. That is my big complaint. My big complaint is I wish that I had I wish Blizzard would give me reason to log on. But I don't feel like I've got it.
Yeah, and I totally understand that. I kind of feel the same way for the most part. We were talking briefly before we started up, but I was saying that I'm leveling up a bunch of alts to get ready for Firelands, but the mere idea of gearing those characters, man, that sounds rough, and honestly, like it's really easy just to slide into that raid log mentality and stay there. Because yeah, it's not really exciting to do anything outside of raiding in Cata, and we've been in the same raid tier for so long at this point. I'm really happy that they finally announced the PTR. That was super awesome to hear about yesterday. Made me super stoked. Really sad that it's just Molten Front. That kind of sucks, but probably good because most of the player base is doing the War Within right now, and I imagine if we were doing PR testing for raids right now, the FOMO would really tear a lot of the community apart. So
As weird as this might sound, I'm kind of excited to do the Molten Front quest. I hope that it's accelerated enough to where it doesn't get stale really fast, like doing the same daily to have to get the Marks of the World Tree. If it's sped up to a good pace, then I think I'll enjoy it. But if it's just a drag and it takes 40 days like it did back in the day, then that shit's gonna suck, and I'm gonna be like, fuck this. I'll do them like once and then be like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah, I remember when Ada originally launched and I was younger, I really liked Molten Front. Like I thought the quests were super cool. The dailies were new and different from like anything that we'd ever experienced. They were a lot more interactive. I don't know if I'm going to feel that way this time around. I don't feel like I've had that approach with most of the content that I've experienced now as an adult, but I don't know. Maybe dailies won't feel like crap because they are a little bit better than other classic dailies for Molten Front. We'll see how that plays out in reality.
Yeah,
No, they're still pretty shit. It's still terrible. They're some of the worst, but you might as well get used to it because MOP is literally just daily central. It only gets worse, really.
It's Farmville and MOP.
Yeah. I mean, the farm's all right, but there's no tabard in MOP. Like, I think they could make some good quality of life changes where we get tabards for dungeons and the reps are just not quite so painful. But Ashley, thank you for the super chat again. And I do want to address that. So, do you feel like you burn out on current because you're playing ahead on private for content? I no. Like, as weird as it sounds, no. I think the main reason of really being bored shitless of tier 11 was actually the sheer amount of characters that I was raiding on to begin with. I think for the first, I was raiding pretty much like 6 days a week. So, I'd already, I don't know, in the first, let's say 6 to 8 weeks, I'd probably done more raiding than most people will do in tier 11 for the whole of Cataclysm. And I think that didn't help. And also raiding with different mixed ability groups. I think that's like the best way to put it. Obviously we week one cleared and I raid with a really good bunch, but then I also raid with another part of the guild in the evenings that still haven't done 13 or 13 heroic, so I'm going from like raiding in one group where it's like fucking bish bash boss, we're done in hour and 50 minutes or something, around that sort of time, which we're no speed running guild or anything, I'm not like, I know that's not like massively fast or anything, but a couple of hours and we're in and out and 13 bosses are dead, to then raiding with another group where I'm having to reap what I done 3 months ago. I actually think it's more that than anything else. If I was just to stick to just raiding with the boys and we're going in and we're clearing content in a nice timely manner and getting it all down nice and quick, like we do, it would be different. And then, I raid in a GKP that I only go because I know all the guys that are in it, and that's never particularly successful either. So I think that is what actually gets me down. It's not like, there's only one raid a week I'm excited for, and that's the one where I know we're just going to go in, we're going to blitz it, and we're done. And then I join another one where it's like, fuck me, it's going to take 2 nights and we're still only going to kill 12 bosses, or
Yeah, it's that Pandora's paradox thing, right? You've experienced a certain echelon of like, an experience, and then doing anything below that feels crappy now because you have experienced something that's like, I guess in this instance, as efficient as it is, where you have your 13 to 13 clear, I feel the same way. Whenever I do GDKPs that don't 13 to 13 clear, I'm like, oh man, and everything. I'm just like, I'm sitting like this. I'm like, why can't you guys get this through your head, man? Like, we have spreadsheets. You've got an add-on telling you when to pop your goddamn cooldowns. Like, let's just get through this, dude.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't want to completely sort of deflect the question in terms of like, does it contribute to me getting bored of the content quick by, playing on private servers? Probably yes. It probably does contribute, but at the end of the day, I don't play on private servers super serious, not like I used to. As in we would like be pushing hard on private servers. I'm more like, I'm playing on MOP, like the MOP server I was talking about a minute ago. I'm leveling all the characters to 90. I'm pretty much just playing on my own, experiencing the content in pugs. Like that. It's not like I'm there going week in, week out, pushing progress, wiping. I don't need to do that because I don't make raid guides really very often. It's more the classes, the specs, the even gold farms. It's all the stuff where I don't actually need a guild. I don't need to go play the private server super hard to get the experience, if you know what I mean. So I don't think that contributes heavily, but I'm sure it may do, like further down the line. I don't think it will with MOP. And it definitely didn't with RAF. I didn't get bored of RAF. I didn't quit RAF, and I've played every RAF private server that came out, for 5 or 6 years. I just think Cata is one of those expansions where it almost feels like the only thing there is to do is raid. And when it feels like the only thing there is to do is raid, all you do is raid, which means you might be raiding 3 or 4 times on 3 or 4 characters at least a week, and then them raids get old a lot quicker. You know, whereas if there was stuff to do outside of the raid, where it's like maybe you only keep up with 2 characters, so you're only doing the raid a couple of times a week, but then you've got challenge modes, or you've got Brawlers Guild, or you've got even dailies that you're going out, and you've got your farm, and there's just other things to do, pet battles, things that just mean you're not thinking, man, I've got to log on, but if I log on, I need to find a pug. There's things that you can just do to keep yourself entertained outside of it. Sorry, that was a really long explanation.
No, that's perfect. We can segue into the next part of the new Heroic Plus that they teased. We're getting the PTR soon, but we might also have something that might scratch, or that you might be able to do outside of raid, and that's their Heroic Plus stuff that they briefly mentioned. And I think there was like another comment from whoever the guy's name is. What's it? He's got such a nice voice. I think that's his name. The guy that does the posts for the blue posts.
Kyvax.
Oh
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He had some other like little response to somebody like hinting to the new heroic dungeon. So we might have.
Oh,
Something
I didn't know about that. Tell us about that. Let's touch on that first.
Let me pull it up here really quick. It might take me a minute to find it, but I think it was basically what was in the blue post. I didn't realize that it was also in the blue post until I read it, that they teased.
Oh,
it there
okay.
too. But yeah, I'll look for it. But what would get you to log in to Cata once Firelands comes out outside of the raid? Like, what could they do to the dungeons that like both of you guys would be like, oh hell yeah, like I'm gonna do this heroic now?
Is
like,
let Sqwurrelly go first, and
or-
I'll grab a gin.
yeah.
I'm listening.
Is it bad for me that that the answer is that it needs to be 372 loot? I'm not gonna lie. I thought the alpha, beta, and gamma dungeons were kind of cool in Wrath, but it was still kind of a big leap, because the reality is that there's a massive item level difference between Cata normal modes and heroic modes, and how hard those heroics are going to be in Firelands to even step into with 359 gear versus 372 gear is insane, right? We went from in 359 gear, 346 gear-ish, or even early weeks of Cata, from 5 to 7 minute kill times to now. Magma, for example, is a boss that has his exposed head phase at around the 2-minute mark. We're killing that boss at 2 minutes and 13 seconds. That exposed head phase lasts 25 seconds. We're killing it 13 seconds into that exposed head, right? We're speed killing every single boss. Conclave, we're doing sub 2 minutes on. I mean, more than half the bosses we're doing sub 2 minutes on, right? For people who are in 359 gear trying to step into Firelands, I feel like there's this, I feel like the gatekeepy barrier for like Cata players, and even though this might not be good for individual player longevity, I feel like this weighs against one another. The one problem is, on one hand, that you either have people who feel disincentivized from getting into World of Warcraft because it takes too much time and too much commitment from a fairly unfriendly new player experience to get into raiding, and then also having to gear that character up, because not only do you have to be knowledgeable, you have to get gear, and then you have to get raids, into raids to get that gear, okay? When Firelands comes out, who's going to be doing tier 11? Not me. I don't know anyone.
I don't want to. Yeah.
Right. I'm not going to be doing that. I don't want to spend 4 hours of my time in a GDKP in tier 11 when tier 12 is out. No way, dude. I'm already going to be doing enough on my mains and alts, for tier 12. So if they release these dungeons and they're only 359 gear, as much as I understand that will kind of sap some of the gear experience up to tier 12, it's like, what player do you know is going to want to start Cata at tier 12, or even come back if they were kind of burnt out, if they have to go through tier 11 raids just to get that 372, or start normal modes when all of their friends are progging, just to get into tier 12? It's going to be a really bad experience for most people who try to come back to the game. And I just feel like that's not good for player numbers. And even though that might not be good for longevity, I feel like you're keeping people outside the door anyways if you don't give them 372s.
Yes, that's fair.
If I ever started gearing up my ult, I would much rather do it in like a 5-player dungeon than going through the tier 11 raid.
Yeah.
Yeah, like fuck all that.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Having to get in comms, having to find 10 people or 25 people to get into a raid.
The assignments,
Dude, no way.
The debuffs, the
Yeah.
cooldowns, yeah.
Let me throw a Netflix show on, turn my brain off, run Stone Core 15 times. Who cares? You know, like it doesn't matter at this point, you know, trying to gatekeep people from the actual experience in the game. It's just not good in my opinion. And I didn't think it was that good in Wrath either. I didn't see the point in it. I know some people were doing like mount runs in earlier raid tiers, but outside of that, like trying to find groups and leveling alts up sucked. Unless you had a bunch of gold and got into a GDKP. And for most of us who probably play WoW a lot, that's easy. But for the average player experience, it's terrible.
All right, so what I'm going to throw at you then is because I think that's a fair point. You know, like I'll give what my vision of how it should be, and it's actually going to be different to what I said before. As in, like, I still stand by what I said about it being challenge modes, but I've got a little bit of a spin to put on it, which I would like to see Blizzard do. But what does that do for you? What does that do for me? Like, what would that make you log on? You know, yeah, okay, it's great. We're going to put 372 gear in these, you know, heroic pluses. But it's still only now another method of getting gear rather than repeatable, challenging content that anybody could do. You know, it's still not going to make me log in outside of Fireland raids.
Yeah.
You know?
I think the system that they implemented in Wrath was cool. I do think it should be closer to Mythic Plus, but with less difficulty and just like cooler spins on content. They did that whole thing with like how dungeons like Draktheron Keep had, I think it was like the blood puddles and stuff like that. I think that they should do a bunch of abilities like that, and you can increase the difficulty for more item drops off of each boss. So that you can get more gear. It's harder, but then there's more affixes like Mythic Plus, right? The higher you go up in Mythic Plus keys, more affixes you get and stuff like that. I don't know if it's still like that. It used to be like that because I haven't played Mythic Plus in a while.
Yeah.
But I feel like something like that where it puts like a lot of wacky spins on things where it's like maybe sometimes you just get a bunch of random affixes from different dungeon types that mix together really crazy and then you slam through a dungeon. And sometimes it's a slog and it's really hard, but at least it would mix the content up and make it interesting. You know, you could be like, oh man, I really hate when, you know, we get all those, you know, slow debuffs combined on top of each other and then I'm crawling through the dungeon, right? Or like, man, I really love it when I get 15 damage amps all on top of each other and I two-shot a boss. You know, who cares when it's non-competitive content or, you know, it doesn't, like, I don't feel like content like that needs to be this, like, challenge to be rewarding. It just needs to be fun.
Yeah, that's fair. So what I would do, to make it more of a progression track and useful for people that don't need gear would be exactly what you said. Like, yeah, have it like Mythic Plus. I would even have it keyed like Mythic Plus.
Yeah.
So I would have it let's say 1 to 4. So a Mythic key 1 to 4 is 359 gear. 5 to 8 is 372 gear. 8 to 12 is transmog gear.
Yeah.
Or chance at mounts at the end.
That'd be sick.
You know, maybe a currency where you can then buy Nax tier, you know, that's not obtainable anymore for transmog. You know, like, you know, have it so the hardest, like the hardest keys that you can push only give cosmetics or titles or, you know, achievements, whatever. The easy ones give 359, which will be, you know, like you could pretty much skip heroics and go straight into M0s, get a key for like an M2. You know, you're getting 359 gear. Maybe when you're on like M3, M4, you know, there's a chance at a 372 item. You know, but it's not guaranteed. But then once you get to 5, 6, 7, 8, that it's all 372 gear that's going to drop. And you could even have it, you know, like it would need to be. Well, I would have it the same as M plus, so the gear is in a chest at the end and it's personal loot. But I don't think that would fit very well in Cata.
Yeah.
You know, so you could just literally have you open the chest and all the loot's there. You know, 3 items, 4 items, whatever that anyone can just roll on. You know, you could still keep it very classic rather than the personal loot style of retail. But I think that sort of thing covers all bases. So you've got people who need like the 359 gear to be able to start getting 372 gear. They've got the easy-ish sort of, you know, keys. And then you can get 372 gear for doing harder. And then people like us who don't need gear have actually got a reason to go and push keys, you know, and push, you know, what level we can get to, because we're going to get some cool shit that isn't actually player power.
Yeah, and it solves that problem that you were talking about of, you know, just the only thing that you can do when you log on to Cata is raid. And that's cool. And I think transmog hunting would definitely be like a good environment for a lot of people too, you know? Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think that's a pretty good take.
The thing with Wrath, with the alpha Titan rune dungeon things that I didn't really like that they didn't address back then was being able to skip bosses and still just like get some rewards from the end of the dungeon. Like those runs where it's like, yeah, somebody actually needs loot from this boss, and it's really awkward if you're that guy and people are like, yeah, we're skip run, right?
Yeah,
And then you don't want to be
totally.
like, oh well, can we do this
Yeah,
boss?
right.
Like if they could address that issue somehow for Kata,
Yeah, because you've got
not yeah.
you've got that crowd who's like actually just doing like chores work, and then the, you know, the people who are gearing up alts, and that doesn't usually mesh together. I also do think that the key system probably would fix that as well, though, because like there's a clear intention with doing like transmog runs, right, and stuff of that nature. People who are just doing chores probably. I think you would want to keep those separate, like those systems separate from one another, right? The gearing system probably shouldn't come with like a direct tie to Valor, maybe. I don't know how you would solve that. Or maybe it's not just like the end all be all. Like it doesn't give more Valor or less Valor than just doing a normal, you know, heroic dungeon or whatever. So people who are just trying to do their chores work don't interact with that and just try to, you know, mess with the idea of what people are doing Mythic plus keys in Kata would be for.
Yeah, and I like the thing, you know, if it were like, look, don't get me wrong, I know this is like a blue sky thinking. Look, let's just be honest, this shit is not going to happen.
Yeah,
you know, like it's far too much work. Blizzard will not do it. But if they was to put a little bit of effort in and do it, it's something. It's not like it's not like throwaway content like what they have done.
Yeah,
alpha, beta, gamma. All of those dungeons that was throwaway content that no one gives a shit about anymore. If they was to actually put Mythic Plus into Classic now in Kata, where, in my opinion, it's needed, like it's needed most, carry it on in MOP. You know, I know we've got Gold Challenge modes, but that would be something completely separate. Gold Challenge modes is like that is completely separate to you know, how you would have Mythic Plus even running in MOP. That's another whole layer of content.
Yeah,
even in MOP.
Yeah,
like I think some of us would even do lower keys. You know, like you for example, needing, you know, items from Throne of the Four Winds. Like, you know, you'll see someone like doing a I don't know, a 7 Grim Batol. And you'll be like, oh, fuck it, I'll go in. There's a chance,
yeah,
you know,
totally.
at the end.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, an absolute pure pumper, fucking stacked to shit, is now going to be actually helping a group of people that need gear.
Yeah.
But you're there with your own reasons as well. You know, like they just, I don't think they put enough thought into some of the stuff when they put it out. Like you can almost guarantee the Heroic Plus that comes out it's gonna be aimed purely at people who need to get gear to get in Firelands. Like full stop, that's it. Maybe our alts use it.
Yeah.
And there'll be no repetitive nature there whatsoever. Because what I also don't want is a half-assed attempt where it's like, okay, there's a currency that you can get in it, like Sidereal Essence from Wrath, for example. But instead of just gear, also you can get a mount if you do 2,000 dungeons. It's like I could see them doing some lazy shit like that to encourage, you know, people to actually do it that don't need gear. But you know, I've been saying all along, but is the expansion where they should do something a bit risky, something a little bit bold, something that no one would expect. And M Plus is massive in retail, man.
Yeah.
Like,
well, it's the primary.
So many more people, I think, are interested in M Plus than raiding.
It's the primary driver of all the content in that game. You know, it bridges so many gaps that people who don't have time to do raids, you know, are fulfilling throughout, you know, doing stuff like that. And I think honestly, even the system that you're suggesting would work even with current raid tiers, in which like it develops within the current raid tier. I just think that raid tier probably you know, or sorry, those Mythic Plus keys for whatever current raid tier probably don't come out initially, so that raid content stays relevant, and then over, you know, the period of the raid tier, then those Mythic keys start moving up and up and up, and then you can start doing, you know, like 378 pieces in you know, those dungeons during current raid tiers, and then eventually towards the back weeks 391s when everyone's already in full bis and they're, you know, on their 14th character farming out, you know, 25 mans, you know, and honestly, yeah, with how Kata is right now, there's absolutely no other avenue to play the game outside of raiding. And who even cares? Like who who could genuinely be mad about another form of content in Cata, right? That doesn't require 4 hours of your time, for Christ's sake. Like, holy crap, man. Being able to do something that's, you know, like, it's cool to game with the boys, but sometimes I don't want to hear the boys yap for 4 hours on Discord, you know? Like, 30 minutes would be a good session for me sometimes.
Yeah, I don't agree.
So with the whole like Mythic Plus type system, once you get past the number 3 with me, like I'm tuning out. Like I don't know what the fuck is going on. So like once you get to like Mythic Plus 7 or whatever you guys were talking about earlier, I'm like, wait, what? 7? Like what do you mean? Like 7 gives this cosmetic and 4 gives this eye level, but 2 gives this eye level. Like if it's only like very basic, very minimum, and there's not like a plus 21 or 30 like there was in retail, like in Dragonflight. Like that's what turned me away from Dragonflight, like Mythic fucking 30.
Isn't
Like
there,
what does that mean?
aren't they doing that with retail currently? I don't understand
I
how
think they tuned
keys
it down.
work
I
now.
want to say they consolidated it down. Like they that item
Yeah,
squished it,
so like a 6 at the back end of Dragonflight in season 4 was like the equivalent of a 12 or something like that. You know,
Okay.
yeah. It was the actual, yeah, the number that you push to, but like that, it's just a number. It don't really matter, you know. As in, like, yeah, if there was 10, if you could go up to 10, but you kind of don't want to limit because you want people to be able to push as much as they can. You know, it's at certain thresholds is when the extra affixes will start coming in. But essentially, the mobs, it will get to a point where the mobs are one-shotting. You know, it's
Yeah,
like
right.
there's a point when it becomes completely, you just cannot do it.
Yeah.
I just, yeah, like Ero's just said, gear stops at 10 now. Above that, yeah, but you can have it so like you're doing it more for flexing than anything else. Like
Yeah.
I done an M26. You know, and it's like, shit, fuck, did you get through that? You know, it lets people, it empowers people to be able to just do weird shit and spend more time playing the game, which surely that's what Blizzard want.
Right. And, you know, and like I was saying, I don't think like Mythic Plus in Cata should ever reach the type of difficulty that it does in retail in terms of like raw number progression. I feel like all of Classic is kind of, you know, for anyone who actually plays like video games competitively or is a retail player who plays that game semi-competitively, you know, by comparison, Classic is always just kind of a flexing contest. You know, it's always I've got the biggest dick, you know, type of vibe with all of the content that's come out of Classic entirely. And so I feel like straying away from that too hard is not good for the player base because a lot of the player base is like, you know, the whole dichotomy is like it's all egotism, right? You know, it's like we went into the raid and we only wiped 2 times, guys. You guys wiped 6 times on your first clear. You guys are shitters and we're great at the game. You know, and so if you stray too far away from that dichotomy, then it gets like a little too far away from the essence of like what it seems like Classic players enjoy. Classic players don't really seem to want to prog a ton, you know, and so I feel like making things too hard so that you can flex is probably a bad idea, but just hard enough. And I don't know if I trust Blizzard to do that, but man, I would at least like them to try at this point. You know, I'm much more in the camp of just, dude, throw something at the wall and see if it sticks rather than just keeping, you know, Cata or Mop on life support. It's not fun. It's not nearly as fun as it could be at the very least.
Speaking of making things too hard, I was trying to look for a new guild the other day, and a lot of guild recruitment is like not looking for 13 out of 13. They're like, hey, we're 10 out of 13, we're 8 out of 13, 4 out of 13. And I'm like, where the fuck are all the 13 out of 13 guilds? Like, it seems like I know it's been easy for the 3 of us to clear like all the tier 11 raids, 13 to 13 heroic, but I don't know if that's the case for the entire Cata player base. So once we get into Firelands, do you guys think that we should be in like the pre-nerf state, or should we have like a post-nerf Firelands for tier 12 that would allow more of the player base to get that heroic loot? Or maybe this whole heroic dungeon system or like Titan Rune dungeon system that they're talking about, that should help people gear up enough to do the harder pre-nerf raid. I don't know what to expect with this next patch.
Sqwurrelly, do you want to take it? Huh?
Yeah, I think I don't know if anyone's going to agree with me on this, and generally speaking, I don't like to talk about Destiny 2 because I hate that game, but I do have a big background in it, and something that I think Destiny 2 did that was really good for new raid releases is that they did something called challenge mode. Challenge mode was, I think it's the first 72 hours of a new content release for a raid. Everything is just harder. And the way that they scale things in that game is it's just your power level or your light level, and everything is about 20 to 30 light level ahead of you. I think if they did like the first 2 weeks, they did a cutting edge, right? Where if you full cleared pre-nerf in the first 2 weeks, then you get a cool achievement, maybe some cosmetic items, maybe a mount, something like that. That would be really cool, right? I think that would be a great idea, and I think you do post everything after. That way, people can flex if they're really good at the game. But I do think, you know, you were talking about guild recruitment. I do think pre-nerf is bad for the player base because Cata is when raids start to get mechanically, I don't want to say hard because, like, for me, I don't feel like they're hard, right? But I feel like for the average pug player, it's really hard to step into because you have no cohesion with, like, you know, the randoms that you're playing with, right? And so I feel like pre-nerf is really bad for the average Joe. I feel like post-nerf is really great for them. And you know, this is probably like a shot against myself because, like, I feel like my guild or guilds like my guild are going to do just fine in pre-nerf content, right? We're going to have a blast. But man, I've got a friend named Ray who plays the game very casually, you know, and he's been wanting to get into Cata. And I know that Ray would probably get to max level, go into Firelands, realize that he hits a wall with pre-nerf, and then just quit the game because he's a variety gamer. And I don't want my friends, you know, to suffer for an environment that only suits me, you know, and then I can just scale that up to the average player base. And it sounds miserable, you know? So that's how I feel about it. But I don't know if people would like that.
That's pretty solid. And I know just looking at SOD, like when they came out with Sunken Temple, and it was pretty difficult. Like the harder challenge guilds like went in there, try to like clear it all day one, and they got close, and it was like, oh shit, like they might be able to do it. This is really hard content, but it looks possible. They didn't clear it in day one, but they might be able to come back in here, like get together, come up with a different strategy, and clear the raid. And then Blizzard was like, oh no, we're just nerfing this to shit. And then it was like, oh, now it's fucking face roll. Whoever logged in first and got into Sunken Temple now got the like the race to world first, like achievement, whatever. And if they gave it like 2 weeks to breathe, then that would be cool, I think. And you know, let the guilds that want to go in there and do all the prep, let them like battle it out who can get the content down first, and then make it a little bit easier for everybody else. I'd like to see what that would look like if they tested that with Firelands, then that'd be kind of cool.
I also think it's perfect marketing because Blizzard will inevitably not tune the raids properly, and there will be bugs or something, and they'll be like,
there's gonna be fucking
and then they'll be
bugs,
like,
yeah.
dude, it's just the first 2 weeks. You guys suck. What's up? Like, dude, you just got to get better at the game, and then they can nerf it after that and be like, that was just the first 2 weeks. You missed cutting edge, man. You should have just been a better gamer.
Oh man, I have a like my opinion on this has never changed, and it's never a popular one. So I'm just gonna be the bad guy in the room, the one that everyone hates that's watching this live or watching it back, and just say it. There is the easier content. It's called normal. Like I don't agree with the whole heroic should be able to be cleared by everyone. Like no, like it's called heroic. Like it's meant to be hard. You know what they eventually have done, and you know what they're going to do in the very near future. Really, in the grand scheme of things, is all they done was added another difficulty. You know, they added mythic. So you got normal, heroic, and mythic. So you've got that like little bit in between. But ultimately, it doesn't really achieve a lot, because if people still are just fixating on the fact that like to get the best gear, like you have to do mythic, then what are we going to make mythic really easy when we get to a classic expansion where mythic exists? Are we gonna make that all easy to do just so everyone can get the gear? Like, you know, I get that everyone wants to get the gear. I want to get the gear. You know, I want to be able to do the most damage I can physically do, or the most healing I can physically do, and the way to get that is is to get the gear. But I just feel like there needs to be the understanding of like across the classic community of, you know, maybe you're not in the right environment to do that. You know, I'm not saying it's your ability to play, you know, it might be the people that you're surrounded with and their ability to play. But like, if you're happy in the guild you're with, you should be happy with the content that you're clearing. Like, you know, you haven't got to be doing 13 or 13 heroic. I know people that play the game that are perfectly happy in a guild that's only got 3 or 4 heroics down, and they probably enjoy themselves raiding more than I do. I don't think that content should just be made easier or be post-nerf just because, oh well, you know, everyone should be able to do it. Because that's what normal's there for. Normal's there so everyone gets to experience the content. Heroic should be a challenge for the vast majority of people. And like we see, when we've got post-nerf raids, or you know, in any iteration of Classic since 2019, obviously it's still very, very achievable, and you see hundreds and hundreds of guild clear in the first reset. So it's not like it's impossibly tuned. You know, again, I know that's going to be an unpopular opinion, but my opinion will never change, because otherwise you might as well scrap normal. Just put everything fucking post nerf, make it all easy, and get rid of normal. Just remove it as a difficulty level. Like, it's there for, you know, you've already got it in a nice way where you can switch between normal and heroic on a boss by boss basis. So it's not like, oh, this is a risk trying this on heroic because we're going to get locked in and now we're going to lose loot from 7 bosses that are in front of it. It's like, you've not got that. You can, like, slowly working on a boss at a time. Honestly, I would put Firelands. I think Firelands should be pre-nerf. And like, don't get me wrong, they nerfed it originally, and we was talking about this before we went live. So I can see no evidence on Wowpedia of Firelands ever getting nerfed, but I've actually got the original blue post of when Firelands did get nerfed, and it got nerfed while it was current content still, because it was hard, and they had to nerf it so a lot of people got to see Ragnaros heroic, not necessarily kill Ragnaros heroic, but at least see it before Dragon Soul came. And I've got no issue with that. But like, I don't think just going straight in with pre-nerf, with post-nerf is the way to go. Like, leave it quite hard for a couple of months, you know, and then nerf it if you want to nerf it as the new content's coming in or when the new content comes in. But yeah, I don't know. That's just my opinion. As I say, that's what normal's there for. And I don't think the gear is massive. Like, if you was doing, you can get to probably like 370 eye level by killing 9 heroic bosses a week. Yeah. You know, that's it. Like, if you're in a guild that does 9 of 13 heroic, so you can't kill Neff, you can't kill Sinestra, you can't kill Council, and let's say the other one would realistically probably be Alakir. Let's say you couldn't kill Alakir either. You're still going to be comfortably able to get to like 370 eye level. To, you know, that's about 2 average eye level difference between the people that are clearing those hardest bosses as well, and you're just doing them on like those 4 on normal. I've never seen anything wrong with that. I've never seen anything wrong with guilds not fully clearing or not killing Lich King when it was 0%, or, you know, because I don't see the point of having alternate difficulties if everyone's just expected to do the hardest.
Yeah, totally. And from a personal perspective, I agree with that entirely. But I'm worried about, you know, I've put all of my free time into making YouTube videos for Cataclysm, and if everyone quits the game because they can't kill Rag, no one's going to watch my YouTube videos, man. So, you know, like, I'm going to make all these boss guides, but if no one's watching them, like, what's the damn point, you know? That's all I care about. I just don't want my game to die.
Yeah, no, and, you know, that's fair. And I don't know if any of you played WildStar, but, you know, WildStar was an absolutely amazing MMO. Probably one of... outside of currently Ashes of Creation, which everyone knows, like, you know, I'm hyped for Ashes of Creation and can't wait to start making content about it. But, you know, I was super excited for WildStar. I thought that was going to be it for me for World of Warcraft. You know, I was playing all the tests, like beta, alpha, everything. The thing that killed WildStar was not how good the game was, because the game was fantastic. It was what the raids were aimed at, and the raids were aimed at the top 100 guilds on World of Warcraft.
Right.
Those were the people that should, you know, that's how hard the content was. And it died because of that, because you need raids, you need endgame group content to be accessible. Which I think Classic is. I think WoW is. I think Retail is. I think Retail is mega accessible. You know, but that's the problem with Classic and, well, Cata at the moment. and even with MOP, to be honest, we'll have the same issue, is there is no alternative ways to get relatively powerful gear. You know, the difference between 359 gear and 372 gear is fucking bonkers, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Like, it is night and day.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, if they add Mythic Plus and, you know, during the current season, we'll call it season because I'm in retail fucking mode at the moment, but during the current phase/season, it was dropping 365 gear, you know, somewhere in between that you could get from doing challenge mode.
Way more approachable.
It makes it approachable. Your guild can now do these, you know, this smaller group content to get better gear, which might just push you over the line to be able to get those harder heroic bosses down where you're missing them 372 slots. You know, again, it's things that Blizzard could fix, but I don't think the way to fix it is necessarily ruining the challenge, you know, another large portion of the player base.
Sure. Yeah, and I can totally understand that. Yeah, like for me, like I was saying, you know, like Pre-nerf, sick. I would love that, right? Gives me more staying power as a player because I'm not going to be bored, right? Like I'm going to have to learn as we gear up every single week. You know, we're taking seconds or 20, 15 seconds off of every single week from like whatever amount of gear we got that raid into a boss fight. Dude, I'm going to be happy as a clam doing that type of stuff, right? But yeah, my only worry is just the game dying, you know? And yeah, I definitely think there are better ways to go about it. I guess my worry is just that, like, you know, or not my worry. I think, you know, something that we all understand is that Blizzard's just not going to do that type of stuff. And that's what makes me sad about it, is just, you know, like there are so many easy solves to this stuff that actually really don't require a lot of work from Blizzard's end. Some reskin items, you know, maybe doing the Mythic Plus thing like you're talking about, you know, and all of that is a really easy segue into something that makes the content more approachable. But Blizzard seems fully content on just, you know, riding the game on life support, which is sad, you know. So I think in the idea of realism, I feel like post-nerf might be better for the average player base, but I definitely hope it's pre-nerf as an individual goal and want for myself.
So since I've heard both of you guys, I can just take the middle ground and say, go like a month. Give it a month. Sqwurrelly said 2 weeks. Scotty said 8. I'll go 4 to 6 weeks, and then
Sure.
you kind of like tune the heroics down a little bit. I'm not saying nerf it to the ground, but to me, the difference between normal and heroic is the mechanics. It's not really like the difficulty. It's
Yeah, because
be able to experience the fight in a different way on heroic than normal.
yeah,
So it's like there might be a lot of guilds out there that haven't gotten to even look at the mechanics of the heroic because it's just so hard, because there's too much damage going out to the tanks, or raid wide damage the healers can't keep up, whatever it is for that guild. So it's like I've been leaning towards this in SOD too, playing a lot of SOD over the past couple of phases. I wish that there was like mid-phase content, like changes.
I
It
totally
doesn't matter
agree.
if it's like a nerf or like something added. Like fucking 16-week phases is too long to have like nothing new,
Yeah.
nothing at all. Like, and then ZAZG coming out, that's not really like anything major. It was like I was really hoping that they were gonna use that, even though it took so long to even get there in the first place. I hoped that they were gonna give something else, and they didn't. It was just like, oh yeah, here's ZAZG. Enjoy this, and it's like, what? That's it? Really? So in Firelands, I hope that there's something like a patch 4.3.5 or something. So yeah, Firelands comes out, everybody gets to experience it, do it on pre-nerf if you want to for a while, half of the phase, if that's 8 weeks, cool. And then tune it down during that phase. Don't wait for Dragon Soul to come out to give like a post-nerf. Like give it during the live phase.
Well, wouldn't it be cool if you know, if they did do that and they was very open about it as well? They was like, look, you're gonna have pre-nerf, but like so you can almost be like, look, the more casual players who just like raiding with the boys and that, like, don't panic. It is going to be quite hard, but only for 4 resets.
Yeah.
You know, that's it. But they added cutting edge now. So you could get cutting edge, and then, you know, the other people will get ahead of the curve. You know, like if they was to put that in now, so people are trying to get, you know, they know they've only got 4 weeks to be able to get cutting edge Ragnaros. You know, I think that would be, I'd be happy with that. personally.
Yeah, and my whole thing is that like being open and honest about, you know, like post or pre-nerf and everything like that would give either people like something to look forward to or something to abstain from, so that they don't like, you know, they don't throw themselves at Firelands without knowing and then just hating the experience because maybe they're in a casual guild, right? Or, you know, if you are someone who would like post-nerf and you're in like a higher end guild, you know what to expect, right? You've got 4 weeks of pure glory until the game becomes, you know, a cakewalk for you, and then it's alt city. And I just feel like that would be a much better experience and have way more staying power and create better experiences for the people who are like either choosing to engage in the content or abstain until it gets easier, so that no one feels spurned by, you know, like whatever the decision of, you know, whether it is post or pre-nerf is coming out. I think generally speaking, a lot of what I've disliked about Cataclysm is the lack of content, and then also the lack of communication in general. And I feel like if they just fix those two issues, even if they didn't add more content, man, like the community would thank them so much for even just like, you know, even just speaking to them. They would be like, oh, thank you so much, Blizzard. I'm gonna buy your 6-month sub and get that retail mount. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's funny that like all through Classic, it's like every fucking phase through TBC, Wrath, and Kata, we're like, hey, we need to know what's coming. And
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, we're gonna do better on our communication and let you know what's coming.
We hear you.
We have no fucking idea what's coming in Firelands patch.
Yeah.
Like, and it's how close is it away? We don't know. Is it October? Has that changed? We don't know.
Yeah.
So we have to like hope on these like dev interviews. Sometimes questions don't get asked on things like that. So it's like they're saying on one hand, yes, we want to be more open and communicate better, and then they just never fucking do it. So I just don't want to come back to the thing in TBC where we have like a week's notice before something gets nerfed. Like what was it, SSC? Like,
Right.
There was guilds that were like on the cusp of getting Lady Vash down, and they were like, oh yeah, this shit's nerfed next week.
Yeah,
And they
you've
were
got a
like,
week. Good luck.
Yeah, they were like, oh fuck. So like if we had that advanced notice before the phase launched, hey, this is how the phase is gonna roll out, that'd be fucking brilliant. Like that'd be amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy how much just like concise communication goes so far for people, you know?
I'm going to piss you both off and do a full 180 on what I just said, though.
Hell yeah.
The only, like, it would be great. Like, I agree with, like, everything that between the three of us have just said. The only reason I would put money on all of it being post-nerf from the word go is actually how difficult people have found Tier 11.
Yeah.
That's not me saying it's difficult, but there is... I've never, so far, up until now, in Classic, seen so many people say to me that they're stuck on 8 of 13, 9 of 13, 10 of 13. Like, so many guilds recruiting that aren't 13 of 13. You know, I'm not saying it's an exclusive club to be in, but, you know, there's being 13 of 13 heroic all of these weeks in is still, I think, rarer than having all the content cleared in any other phase so far since 2019.
Yeah. No,
so
I totally
Blizzard
agree.
will probably look at that and say it's too hard.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I also think I think it doesn't help that normal mode is literally like it's LFR levels of easy. And they don't even try to blend like the mechanics of hard like heroics into normal modes even a little to like prime people to be set up for progging heroics. So it makes it even harder because it's just such a crazy difficulty shift for the average player base.
Yeah, it's nuts. It is actually nuts
Yeah.
how different it is from normal to heroic. But that's because they done it really weird back in original Kata. They nerfed normal and didn't nerf heroic.
Yeah.
Which is like, it's kind of bonkers that it was that way around.
Yeah.
So that's why normal is so easy. And like heroic never changes. Like, you know, tier 11 heroic how it is now is exactly how it will be forever. You know, it never actually got nerfed. So when the Firelands nerfs came in, so post-nerf Firelands, people said Firelands is easier than tier 11 in full Firelands gear. So that's where we'd be heading towards at the moment. We'd be heading towards like we'd get post-nerf Firelands and it would be face roll compared to going and trying to kill Nef heroic, compared to trying to kill Council heroic. You know, which is, I think that's fucking mad.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I totally agree. And it doesn't make any sense, you know? And it would have given more staying power to normal if they just didn't nerf it, you know, so it didn't suck like nearly as much. I did a single normal mode. I think it was like week 2 when I was just trying to gear up a 3rd or 4th character that I got to 85. And I was like, this is normal mode? I was like, this is crazy. Like, I feel like I'm in a dungeon right now. I felt like some of the heroic dungeons I did, I had to pay more attention. Like in Stonecore, I think it's Ozruk is the 3rd boss, where like if you stand in his like circular ability, he'll just kill you, right? Like, I didn't feel like any of that was happening in normal modes in normal. I was like blown away. I was like, what the hell is this, dude? And I never touched normal after that again.
You summed it up with your last statement. It's like LFR.
Yeah.
That's literally what normal feels like.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. All right. So that's like post-nerf, pre-nerf, I'd say fairly covered. We've made our stances clear. What was next, Go?
I don't know if it was really in the notes. We kind of talked about it in the group chat a little bit, but like gearing options that we have in Firelands. I know Sqwurrelly's been doing a lot of simming and like theory crafting for like rogue best in slot and stuff like that. I was looking at a lot of stuff for Boomy, and I see like we've got new options from Valor. We've got new BOEs that are from either crafted or like drops from trash, or even drops from normal mode bosses in Firelands. And we've got like reputation loot. So what are you looking forward to the most to gear up early, like before you even step foot into Firelands potentially in phase 3, right? Yes.
I suppose for me, it's definitely just Molten Front gear, you know, and then the crafted patterns that are going to be coming. Well, I guess that's inside of the raid because they drop from inside the raid, but those are going to be like the stepping stone pieces. Outside of that, you know, kind of not to feed back into the previous thing that we talked about, but there's not really a lot of good avenues to get gear, you know? So it's like Molten Front is probably going to be the only way, and we're not going to see most of that gear until what I think it's day 7, like first reset or something like that is when we get friendly. And so a lot of classes will start to see something along those lines, or maybe it's sooner. I can't remember how much rep you get off of the dailies, but hopefully it's sped up and we'll be able to see a bit more earlier on. But you know, yeah, it's just kind of Molten Front and just grinding that out on every character. Can't wait to do that on 5 alts.
So the Molten Front gear, is that only 365?
It's 378.
365. No. Molten Front's 365. Avengers of
Oh, I'm
Hydra
sorry.
was
You're right.
378.
Yeah. The
like...
Molten Front rep is 365. Yeah, and then 378 is the in the raid rep. Sorry, I was getting them confused.
Rep, yeah. And the before you, like, I didn't want to cut in, but yeah, before you start seeing gear from Molten Front, it's with no changes. It's probably around 13 or 14 days.
Is it 13, 14 days?
Painful.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, and all you're gonna get is 365. It's a long ass grind.
They need to release that early.
They will make it quicker. Oh, 100%. It should be out now.
Yeah,
they should have left it as long as it takes. Like, leave it so it takes like 30 days to actually completely unlock all of the areas. But it should be out. Like, it should have been out a month before Firelands launches.
Yeah.
Because most of the gear is fucking garbage. There's like, I think it's a mastery snapshot trinket for demo locks. Obviously, the hunter weapon enchant. That's it.
Yeah.
I honestly would say I don't think there's a single other item that anyone would use.
There's like some really
rogue would use.
There's some really niche stuff for mastery set stuff for subtlety rogue because they have a pre-pull mastery set for their slice and dice, but that's really about it. So.
Yeah. So just mastery snapshot stuff. Yeah, I couldn't think of anything outside of that. There's like a half decent Agi trinket, and I say half decent. It's still not better than any 372 trinket you'll get from the raid, but like could be an option. It's the Molten Front is catch up gear again.
Yeah,
it's not actually aimed at anybody that's gonna go and get gear to go and raid Firelands heroic. So it's like that's why it should be in now. Like people should already be able to work on it. But yeah, Avengers of Hydra, the actual raid rep, then yeah, we're talking that's some good. But it's some good shit, but it could be better if they changed it so you could upgrade it with crystallized firestones.
I was gonna say,
if they don't,
go ahead.
No, sorry, go on. Yeah, I was pretty much done anyway.
They have 391s in the database. I don't know if you guys saw that, but on all of on all the databases, there's 391s. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it's wrong. I'm really hoping that they allow upgrades. I was looking at some of the classes. Some of the classes just don't even have 391s in like certain slots for their bis gear, which is crazy. And the only pieces that they can use in that slot are the 378s from rep. And it would be way better if they just made those 391 for everyone. So I don't know. I'm going to be blown away if they don't do that either. Because that's just an eye level increase. Like that's bare minimum. And just, you know, like you were saying, like the using the currency that you use to upgrade the other 378 pieces in Firelands would be a perfect fix for that.
It's like Go cannot get a 391 belt. And you, as a rogue, the only 391 belt you can get is from Trash, then upgraded with a crystallized Firestone.
Yeah.
There's no other 391
the Lost
belt.
Collar or whatever it's called.
Lim's Lost Collar. It's like the itemization is fucking mental in Firelands, as in, you know, and casters, every single intellect user, don't matter whether you're a healer, a warlock, a mage, like if you use intellect, there is one cape option. Everybody is going to want that one cape. It's like, whereas that wouldn't be an issue, because if they allowed the rep items to be upgraded, then now you've got that as an option as well, getting a crystallized Firestone and using the rep cloak. But yeah, it's kind of mental when you actually look through every class's gear option in Firelands.
And with the cloak, that gives more options too, because there's 2 cloaks that you can get from the rep. There's a Spirit Mastery and a Hit Haste, and then there would be the third one from the raid. So it's like, it would give just more secondary stat options for that too. But the same thing was in phase 1 with the heroics. There was like 333 BOEs, and then in the database there was 346 that they had tested in the back in the day. So you could see, like, you go to Wowhead and see that there was a 346 BOE option from the heroics, and it went live and we didn't get to see those. And so I'm not expecting them to allow us to upgrade this gear, but I definitely agree that we should be able to.
Well, and I mean, one of the guys that I worked on the next action guide with is talking in my chat right now. He was saying that for strength users, they don't have a belt or a cloak. So it's not just one piece, it's 2 pieces for them. And like rogues got lucky this raid tier because, you know, like there's the 378 belt from rep, which is better itemized, right? But that's 378 max. And then we have Riplim's Lost Color, which is the worst 2 stats for all 3 specs. And then even then you have to upgrade that using the currency from Firelands, you know? So it's a pretty rough spot.
And they're going to be slim pickings to get hold of as well. Like, they're not. You're not going to be flooded in them, and again, unless they make changes. But yeah, it's, as I say, it's kind of bonkers. It could be quite a frustrating time, but we should be making noise for Blizzard to make sure that the reputation items can be upgraded, because obviously the whole point of it was well, not the whole point of it, but a big point of contention back in original Cata was the fact that the relic slot was 359 and there was nothing you could do about it. So they fixed that and was like, oh, okay, well, you know, you can upgrade these now. You can still buy them from the same source, but now you can upgrade them with this Firestone. But by the way, like now you've got 2 other slots for plate wearers, or, you know, a slot for level wearers, like as in caster lever. Like, yeah, there's things that they could do to fix that, which require no effort whatsoever. But you can see that was the intention. The intention was to have those items to be able to be upgraded. But also, Firestones, man, like, they need to be 100% drop chance from the bosses, like one from each boss, because so many people are going to want them. Like, it's going to be worse than trying to get your random statted gear from fucking Throne.
So wait, were those BOE, the crystallized thing? Like, can you find those on the auction house?
I don't think so.
No, they're not BOE.
Okay, so like once you give it out in your raid, like it's stuck to that person.
It's kind of like the essence of the Forlorn. In the same category as that, you know, it's similar to that, but just it allows you to upgrade any random item to a heroic piece. Well, not any random item, but a specific set of random items that drop out of the raid.
All right, so Sqwurrelly, are you planning on doing rep runs before you actually do your first clear, or are you trying, like, is Bipolar gonna do like a race? Are you guys trying to like full clear as fast as possible after launch?
So funny enough, Bipolar is actually going super casual for this raid tier. We're just doing PTR. That's all. Yeah, no private server stuff, no BS. You know, like we're gonna try hard once it releases and probably do a lot of PR testing. But I'm gonna be honest, and I could be shooting myself in the foot here. So if anyone wants to clip me, that's great. I just don't feel like it's gonna be that big of an issue for us, and I don't feel like outside of maybe struggling week one from not doing private server stuff ahead of time to get more time and comfortable with the content itself, I feel like we'll watch enough Twitch VODs of, you know, Palaceway doing his thing and figure it out week two. It doesn't, even if we don't full clear week one, there's, you know, we're in a content guild, right? So it's like all these dudes are spending all their time on the War Within. Nobody wants to worry about doing private server stuff when the new, you know, flavor of the month of WoW came out just now, you know, and then they were playing SOD for a week before, you know, the week of release and after it died, and then went straight to War Within. So people are just kind of spread thin, and man, I feel like they would probably get burnt out if they had to juggle that many different versions of the game and then also private server testing on top of that. And all these guys have 9 alts. They're doing GDKPs and saving up so they can gear all their alts for when Firelands comes out. You know, all these no lifes are on the game in some capacity, even if it's a different version of it, you know, 20 hours a day. So
I would confidently say with one night of PTR, you guys, when it goes live, will be stood in front of Ragnaros in 60 minutes.
Yeah.
Tops.
Yeah. And it's 7 bosses.
The first 6 bosses are fucking easy, man.
Yeah.
Literally, it's only Ragnaros that's in a tier on its own. Yeah, the first 6, it's no bigger challenge than anything in tier 11.
Right. Yeah, and that's you know, that's kind of where everyone's heads at, is that we were expecting, I mean, unless we get pre-nerf, maybe then it could be harder, but even then I would say like most guilds, even casual guilds or semi-hardcore guilds, I should say rather, will probably be 4 or 7, you know, first week at the bare minimum. I don't see it being too crazy hard for most people. I think the difficulty for every single boss is kind of a cakewalk outside of Rag. And even Rag isn't that bad until, you know, his heroic phase. Like, that's when he gets hard. The fight's not crazy until then, unless I'm dumb and just don't understand or remember Rag as well as I should. So
no, you're absolutely right.
Yeah,
yeah. Honestly, it's not that bad. It is just a race at the end because they in a post-nerf state. So a post-nerf state is 20%. It's around 20% less health and 20% less damage. But really, the biggest nerf they done to Rag was increasing the size of his hitbox. And I know that sounds really minor. You're like, well, that don't sound like a big nerf. It's a fucking huge nerf because a large part of heroic Rag is doing a little dance. You know, like when the flames going up and there's 3 safe positions and you move between them. So the fact that your with its hitbox being where its hitbox was increased massively, it meant that melee have no downtime on the boss.
Yeah,
you know, even when you're moving away from it. So in a post-nerf state, like just taking away the health and damage, it's already going to be a lot easier. Well, I don't want to say easier because it's just a mechanic fight. And I know that's not an easy thing to say, but if you've got 25 people or 10 people that can just handle like 2 or 3 fairly simple mechanics, it's just a battle of attrition, really.
Yeah, you just find the one dude who has, you know, like higher than a lukewarm IQ in your raid to do firefighter for you, and you're kind of owning, you know, like it's pretty chill for the most part. And I also just think because of how little bosses there are, people are just going to be able to like kind of, you know, they're going to be able to dedicate their time a lot easier. The problem was with tier 11, we had to bounce around to a bunch of different raids or at least for progging guilds, right? They had to bounce around to a bunch of different raids to get the loot that they could so that they could prog hard bosses. And I mean, like, once we're full clearing and everything's on farm, we're going to be in that raid for 45 minutes. Like, maybe an hour, you know? Maybe an hour.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It is going to be, I think, McNulty said it in chat earlier. I would have pinned it, but it weren't... Oh, no, he did. I can see it. Yeah, Firelands has got a lot less bosses. I imagine any guild that can't clear tier 11 will still get 6 or 7 heroic. And he's absolutely right.
Yeah.
Like, you will see so many guild advertisements of, you know, people recruiting 6 or 7 heroic Firelands. You know, it's just the only boss people are really going to struggle with is going to be Rag. They're like that. There is no other boss that's, you know, worthy of like weeks of progress.
Yeah.
You know, because all you're going to do, because you've got a lot of options as well on what bosses you can go to. So it's like, oh, okay, well, we won't go straight to the bosses we've killed already. You know, this week we'll go and work on something else first. You know, you just can't get to Major Domo and Rag, obviously, but you know, you've got options. I think people will very quickly be 6 or 7, like a lot of guilds, especially in post-nerf.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so Sqwurrelly, very important question here. What caster is getting the legendary staff first? Is it Alondo's Warlock? I don't even know if he has a Warlock, but
dude, you know, we might see a cheeky main swap from Homeboy this raid tier just so he gets loot prio. We'll see, dude. I don't know. I think I haven't really put a lot of time into the caster classes just because I've started doing all this research now, but I've been in the middle of moving the last few weeks, so I've been a little behind the curve on researching some of the sims and stuff. And I'm not gonna lie, finding BIS lists for all of these classes, it's actually super annoying. And so, you know, I did all the melee classes. I have a feeling it's probably just going to go straight to mages, right? Like, I just don't see how, you know, like, the staff doesn't go straight to mages when they could just duplicate pyros. I don't know, man. I could be wrong. Maybe it's crazy on warlocks or something, but I know Shadow Priests, I remember Shadow Priests not popping off until Dragon Soul is when I'm pretty sure they go really crazy. And I don't remember warlocks getting prio on the staff over mages. So I'm just under the assumption mages get it because Pyroblast exists.
Well, I had to ask you that one to ask you this question.
Yeah.
Are you excited for the legendary coming for rogues later on in Dragon Soul?
Yeah and no.
I didn't know if there was already like testing like sim DPS wise for like how good that legendary is going to be for rogues. I've heard it's really good.
Well, so yeah, it's insane. The problem is that the spec that it plays best on is subtlety, and I hate subtlety. So, and subtlety is also going to be the highest single target melee DPS this raid tier. And I really hate that spec. It's the one with the mastery set, so it's got a bunch of pre-pull garbage that you've got to do for it. It's also just one of those specs where you just have to stare at your rotation most of the time. I love Assassination because Assassination's really chill. And the only thing that you really have to focus on is the minutia of cooldown management. And I like that a lot. I think that's fun. I'm not afraid to admit that Rogue and Assassination is a pretty easy class and spec to play, but I enjoy it because it's something that I'm stupidly good at. The problem with Subtlety is that, like, not only does it need the mastery set to crazy pop off and do its top DPS, it also sucks on every single spec in which you have to swap targets on, and it's just like not that good of a stat transfer between combat and assassination is. So it's like it's just got so much crap that you've got to do for it. I hate that. In my guild, oh my god, we've got these mages, dude, who can't respect a pull timer, right? So I'm gonna be the dumbass stuck in the mastery set, and you know, and not have my pre-pot going. So I'm not looking forward to that at all.
All right, so
if I remember rightly as well, you might in the research you've been doing and that you might already have seen the same. But I don't remember many rogues even using the main hand. As in, they'd have the set, they'd have the legendary daggers, but only use the offhand. Obviously, sub rogues would use both. But I think Simin, the main hand. The main hand from Madness actually was used to sim better than using both legendary daggers.
Yeah, it was because back then I think a lot of people were using the double because just because they were riding off the idea of the set bonus that you get from using both daggers. But it ended up not being that useful for, I think, both combat and assassination. A lot of people didn't play Subtlety because Subtlety was really hard to play. But the only one that it really benefits super crazy is Subtlety, and Subtlety does actually benefit from it. So I'm pretty sure they'll use both of them. I don't think combat will, and I don't remember for assassination. It's been so long. they have to implement the daggers so that I can test them, but like a lot of the values are messed up and don't show up properly on the sim right now. So it's hard to speculate because I'm like, I don't know what our actual numbers are going to look like until I've got confirmation from everyone.
You've got to get them though. You've got to get them for MOP, because I don't know if you remember, but if you have the daggers in MOP, you actually get extra like RP stuff that goes on during the legendary quest line with Rathian.
It's so sick.
It's quite cool.
Yeah, it's so sick.